It airs live on Netflix Saturday, September 13th. Canelo, Crawford, the undisputed super middleweight championship. So as we continue to get you fired up for this one, I've concocted 5 fill-in-the-blank questions for Luke Thomas to stir up some chatter about this. We know the names at stake. We know what they're fighting for. We know everything here. Apparently, Netflix is about to roll out a couple episode primer documentary series to get us fired up for this. So fill in the blank time. Canelo Crawford, number 1, Luke Thomas. Should Terence Crawford pull the upset next Saturday, it will most likely be because of blank.
And this can be any factor?
Yes. What do you think will be the leading cause of Crawford getting the job done in this very close fight on paper?
How do I answer this? It's a great question. My boxing answer is going to be Crawford's movement and angling. Angles in particular, less so just pure movement, but angles. Using his feet and using superior angles and footwork to make Canelo play catch up as he turns him. Right? That's going to be my boxing answer. But my real answer, BC, I mean, it's sort of a more technical answer, obviously. My real answer is going to be, it's if Canelo, or I should say, if Crawford pulls the upset, it's going to be because of Canelo's hubris. You know what I mean? Canelo is at the stage of his career where he's taking what he thinks are, obviously this is a huge pay opportunity, right? But, he's not in it at this stage to risk losing to people he thinks he actually has to risk losing to. And I don't think he has taken a fight in quite some time that makes you think otherwise. So I think he believes that Crawford, and with good reason, BC, it's not like a crazy thought. Yeah, Crawford's good, but he's quite, relatively speaking, quite old. Older than Canelo. Who has more miles is somewhat of a different debate, but, older than Canelo. And the weight class jump is insane. BC, someone brought this up to me. Now, the comparison doesn't quite work, okay? But someone brought this up to me on my live chat. Ilia Topuria did fight at 35 once. He tried to do it a second time and missed weight, but he did make 35. And if you think about it, if he fought Islam at 70, that would almost be, to a degree, somebody who's gone 35 to 70. But of course, there's a couple problems with that, not least of which is, yes, Topuria technically made 35, but he didn't have any sustained campaign down there. Bud did, right? Bud was a champion at that weight class. But it goes to show that, look at what Bud is attempting. Yes, he's gone to 54. He had the fight against Madrimov. He looked fine to good, but not great. But he looked fine to good. And now this is 2 more weight classes above it. I mean, think about that, BC. If I asked you a question, who at 35 in the UFC do you think could get a belt at 170, either now or ever? Who would that be?
Damn.
Right? You know what I'm saying? That's tough. That's tough. That's a tough thing to answer. Look at what Bud Crawford is up against. Very difficult circumstances. So,
no doubt.
Canelo should win this fight. He should win this fight.
Crawford will be 38, has fought just once in the last 2 years. That was at 154, a close title capture against Israel Madrimov, but it's a virtual, in some ways, 3-division leap against a Canelo at 35, who has been very active. As we look at the DraftKings odds at this moment, this is wild that it's this close. It really is. Canelo minus 180, Crawford plus 145. I mean, there's a lot of respect being given to Zoe's backside and Crawford's chances in this fight on that line. Let's go to number 2 on fill in the blank. Defeating Terence Crawford would rank as the blank biggest win in Canelo's career. And let me hedge this by saying I asked a similar question to Rafe Bartholomew yesterday on Inside the Box, and he made an argument that because of Crawford's class, this is the biggest potential win in Canelo's history. I didn't agree with that, Luke. I didn't agree with that. You got to go Golovkin too.
Bigger than the second Triple G fight.
That's what I'm saying. But I get the argument, at least. It's a hipster argument, but I get it. Bud really is that dude on Canelo's resume in a lot of ways.
Wow. I don't know, man. I like that dude. That the original campaign that he went on at 68. I mean, is Caleb Plant the same kind of fighter as Bud Crawford? No, but the campaign he went on, beating Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, and then we were there in Vegas when he beat Caleb Plant and whatnot, like, and then Kovalev, and Kovalev was 75, but still, that's a tough one, man. I agree that if you're talking about, hey, what are the best pound for pound guys if Canelo wins, where would Bud rank? And yeah, like pure pound for pound, Bud is maybe the most decorated, but because of the weight difference, BC, I don't know where to put him. I honestly don't know
Yeah.
where. I just, here's what I would say. I definitely cannot rank it above the second Triple G fight. I
Well,
can't do that. I
and I
cannot do
think
that.
it would get more value if Crawford turns out to be super competitive in it and it's this thriller, right? Then you're like, okay, that raises the value. But if I'm going to right now, as we speak on Friday, September 5th, I'm leaning Canelo here by decision and feel firmly confident in that. Um, I would have to go Triple G #2 as his biggest win, beating Miguel Cotto for the middleweight title, 7 rounds to 5 being his second biggest. You can throw in the knockout of Kovalev. Those are probably the three I put in there because, that was him moving up to 175. Obviously, he's lost to greatness in Floyd and Bivol, but uh, it's a hard thing to answer because of that fact. Crawford may end up being literally the best guy he ever beat in terms of the performance, but he's also 38 and hasn't fought. Like, it's wild, Luke. It's a
Also,
real.
what if Crawford gets washed? You know what I mean? Then it's hard to know like what value this has at all. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you have some, but it's tough to categorize.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, let's go to #3 here on fill in the blank. Canelo Crawford debuting here for Zuffa Boxing, being on Netflix without an upcharge inside Allegiant Stadium. Two legends is the biggest fight in boxing since blank. It's a hard one also to answer, by the way. It is because there's other,
You're
you know
talking
what I
about
mean?
biggest fight. So I mean, it's definitely the okay, at a bare minimum, it's the biggest since Better Be of Bivol 2, right? Bare minimum.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, again,
I mean,
bare minimum.
my
Bare
knee
minimum.
jerk is to go all the way back to Mayweather McGregor. To be honest with you, that's my knee jerk. But then I'm like, then you have to kind of think about was
Is that true? I don't know how true that is.
was Fury Usyk in a stadium bigger? What do you do with Tyson Paul? Like, this is why it's hard to really answer right now.
Until we've seen the fight and we can measure it, it's very difficult to know. I'm going to say Fury Usyk.
Okay.
I'm going to say Fury
Okay.
Usyk. It's the biggest fight to me since then. That was a huge fight. Not stateside, obviously, but, well, I mean, it was a big fight here in a sense, but you know what I mean? Like, it didn't take place here. Yeah, I'm going to go that one. I mean, could it get to a place where it has this massive cultural impact in the way that Mayweather McGregor did? I don't think so. I don't. It sounds like I'm shitting on it, and I want to be clear. I'm absolutely not shitting on this fight. Like, it's gonna be big. It's gonna be a spectacle. But we've already kind of said that it's probably the case that Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is going to be bigger. And dude, I hate to say this because that fight sucked the backside of my butthole, but I'm sorry to tell you, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, if we're asking how big an event
That's the
was,
wild card part of the question to me.
right? That was a big, I mean, dude, I remember going to my, like, the local neighborhood restaurant where I live and then sitting down and then hearing people in my orbit talk about it. I was like, holy shit, this fight is fucking huge. So honestly, that's probably the right answer, even though I hate to even put that in the conversation because of what it was.
All right. If we remove the attraction fights like Maymack and Tyson Paul, I wonder if you're really looking at, is it the biggest since Triple G Canelo 2 or Tank versus Ryan? We got to remember too, you know what I mean? Um, or
Tank
just what we
Ryan was
said.
big. Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big
But there
one.
were some heavyweight ones along that way involving Fury Usyk. I remember Fury Wilder 2 and 3 were massive too, but
The
this
question the
one feels
question
like
is the question is, if you take out the Jake Paul sideshows and you ask what's the biggest boxing fight, um, you know, since or to to answer the question that you're putting, what was the last time? Ask the question again. How did you phrase it?
So this is the biggest fight since what?
Since what? But imagine we said biggest fight that took place in the U.S. Right.
Yeah. Then you can start to carve it out.
Would it be Spence Crawford?
Yeah, I think it's bigger than that in every category. I do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but that's what we're talking about. Like it's something like that.
Great stuff here. Let's go to number 4 on fill in the blank. From age to size to inactivity, the biggest disadvantage on fight night that Crawford will be up against when he fights Canelo is what? Because those are maybe the 3 biggest things going against Crawford in this fight. The fact that he's 38, the fact that he's basically a welterweight, and the fact that he's fought once in 2 years.
Size. Size has got to be the answer for me. I think that Bud has the inactivity, clearly doesn't help. At the same time, I do think, generally speaking, Bud has not taken an enormous amount of damage in his career and has, generally speaking, taken very good care of his body, just as a professional athlete during camps, after camps, during the course of his professional career. So to me, those are limiting factors, but you're asking about the biggest one. The reality for me is the size. I mean, I've said it a million times. I sound like a broken record, but like, you know, if Bud and Canelo, I mean, I realize they're going to be the same size on fight night or whatever, certainly weigh-in day anyway. But if they were naturally the same size, I would pick Bud 10 times out of 10. I think he's a much more skilled boxer than Canelo, even though Canelo was obviously in his prime, very, very skilled. But that weight difference, and again, one more time, it's not just like what kind of power Canelo can unleash, and we know he's got dynamite power. His power carries up another weight class beyond him. Not fully, but it hasn't, against the sort of an over-the-hill Kovalev. But the issue for me is, BC, dude, Canelo has a fucking rock chin.
Yep.
He's got a legendary chin, maybe the best chin I've seen during the course of my like watching boxing. You know, guys who were contemporaries during my time. That's a tough thing to beat. And BC, then it gets to another problem that you have, which is how many times have you seen Canelo in a fight where you were sure he was down on the scorecards and then they read the decision and it's Canelo gets another win? And this is why Bud has such a difficult problem. You're going against a guy several weight classes above you who's got an all-time chin and also is a darling to the judges. Dude, that's a very difficult guy to beat.
It is. Luckily, Bud is one of one, and we're all under the agreement that if anybody can do it, it is Bud. I do love that he's leaning into, I'm not going to come in here as a welterweight or a junior middleweight. I'm going to bulk up. He seems to be taller than Canelo. And Luke, here's some video of him 10 days out working out. And a lot of people talking about if this is what super middleweight Bud looks like. We know he's got that like natural amateur wrestling strength too, Luke. I wonder if he's got ideas of kind of doing what Andre Ward did against Kovalev, which is try to get inside and bully the bigger man. I mean, it's kind of what Canelo did to Kovalev too, as well. It's interesting.
Yes, it could happen. I tend to think he's going to kind of play on the outside a little bit, but we'll see.
Here's a video from the Netflix documentary series that's, I think, out now about Crawford talking about putting on the muscle and moving up in weight.
While training camps are typically grounded in familiar routines and rhythms, the 42nd fight of Bud Crawford's career presents a sizable new challenge. He's moving up 2 weight classes, from 154 pounds to the super middleweight limit of 168, which means, among other things, in Canelo Alvarez, he'll be facing the heaviest opponent of his career, and likely so, the hardest punches too.
Yip, step off.
We got a big-ass challenge ahead of us.
Step off.
But that's what makes fighters great, when they go out and get the biggest challenges they can get.
Punch, catch, go.
Don't let anyone tell you that the weight doesn't matter. It makes this a monumental accomplishment for Crawford.
Putting on muscle don't actually mean that you're gonna be slower, but you punch a little harder.
He is willing to take a risk. This is literally uncharted territory for Terence Crawford.
Look, that makes you want to believe he's going to fight Canelo, not box him, fight him.
Sounds like it makes you want to believe that.
It does. It does. I love storylines. Here's a little Lego promo that they got too. The things are finally picking up. I hope that was enough to sell Tukey on it, Luke.
Probably not.
All right. Our final question here on Fill in the Blank. Tyson versus Paul last October did 65 million concurrent viewers on Netflix. Insanity. Canelo Crawford will do blank from the standpoint of concurrent viewers during the main event.
Somewhere around half of that.
Which is still massive, dude.
Still
like
massive, dude. Even dude, if you have 30, let's say you have 30 to 33 million concurrent viewers, dude, that's, you're talking like an NFL game or a big time NFL game. Like, that's a huge audience. I don't think folks realize how big that is for combat sports, for a fight. That's why I'm saying the Paul Tyson thing is like clearly the answer to the question you had asked. Again, it's a sideshow bullshit ass fight. We all know. In fact, it soured me so greatly on anything Jake Paul related, but it did have a massive audience. I just think it's deeply unrealistic. Is Canelo a big star? Of course. Is Netflix a powerhouse platform? Of course. Is TKO giving it, some level of a good push here? Yes. I mean, you could quibble with some of it, but they're not doing nothing. But the problem is, I don't know how big of a star Crawford is. And BC, one criticism you can make is that he beat Spence in this like insanely spectacular performance, and then didn't really capitalize on the fame that was supposed to come from that. He did some interviews, he did a little bit to get his name out there again, certainly. But you would have thought he would have like fought Charlo right after that or something like that, and that didn't really happen. And so he's just not as much of a star. Dude, Jake Paul, you can like him or you can hate him, and believe me, I don't have any love for him, but he's not. People think he's like, oh, he's irrelevant and not popular. I'm sorry to tell you, he's arguably America's most popular boxer. Bud Crawford is not, and Bud Crawford is like obviously 8 gazillion times better than him, but I don't know what the ingredient would be. Oh, it's a more legitimate guy versus a more legitimate guy. Cool, that's great, but this is a star power business. And star power is what determines what kind of audience you're going to get.